everyone, it's me, Ellie, again. Today I would like to talk about having autism spectrum disorder and being on the job. I want to give some ideas for good jobs, ideas for bad jobs, uh, maybe some advice on job interviews, which still isn't my forte, but something that I might be able to help you with some of the quirks of autism that makes it harder to interview. And I also want to give my tidbit on whether or not I think that revealing you have autism spectrum disorder is a good idea in the workforce. So I want to start off with my first job. I lasted a few months, if that. I was a cook at Wendy's, and I will say that despite, the incompetence with the training and everything, I definitely struggled very much with the fact that I was expected to remember everything on the menu, which someone with short-term memory problems, I'm not gonna be able to always remember everything on demand, especially when there's a lot of things going on in the environment at once. Someone yelling out the orders, paying attention to everything that's on the menu, looking at everybody that's in the restaurant. It was pretty stressful, to say the least. But, it didn't work out, not because I was doing bad, but, for other reasons. Basically I was told, we can work something out and go on a schedule after we have another meeting or something like that, which wasn't ever scheduled, and therefore I decided not to go forth with that. But anywho, in short, fast food, being a cook, doesn't work. And then a few years later, when I first relocated to the American South, I was a cashier for a pizza shop job where I was expected to answer the phone and, take orders in the restaurant and everything. Answering the phone calls wasn't terrible because there was only 2 open lines, which, it can be a little bit stressful trying to handle, the orders, but, you pretty much first come, first serve. You just have to say, hold on a moment, put that first person on hold, tell the other person, thanks for calling, la la la, can you hold on just a moment? Sure, okay, go back to the first line. And, the prioritization isn't too bad if there's not too many phone lines to handle, but generally speaking, I don't really like the idea of someone with autism or Asperger's, however you want to put it, to have a job that deals with a lot of phone calls, because, you deal with angry customers, or you deal with trying to remember things on the spot, which, if you're stressed, that can be pretty hard to do sometimes, especially if you're newer on the job and trying to prove your skill set. But the biggest reason why that job didn't work, again, related to the fact that I was expected to remember the whole menu, and that was just a challenge for some reason. It was just really hard for me to remember everything. So I decided to go find a different job where I got more hours in retail. Now, some sources say being a cashier is not a good idea. But I got a job at Target where it was more one customer at a time, and the calculations were done by the computer, and, you might have to do a little bit of chit-chat, which, you can, if you have the gift of improvisation like me, you can talk about, you notice that, they have dog food or something, you can ask them what kind of pet they have, or, things like that. But generally speaking, if, you don't have the help of a computer, being a cashier may not be the best thing, especially if you're expected to handle multiple customers at one time, because people with Asperger's, we like to do things more one at a time, so to speak. So, and then now for a different kind of job I was actually an office assistant. It was for I want to say low to medium volume office, so it wasn't too bad. Answering the phone for a phone line that had 4 different connections or whatever you want to put it, got a little bit hectic sometimes. I don't know how I did it, remembering who had what, who wanted what on which line, and who was who, and I don't know how I did it. I have okay short-term memory, but it's not, it's definitely not up to par with, neurotypical people, so to speak. I could walk into a room looking for something, and I totally forget why I'm in that room once I get in there, which is actually a pretty annoying problem to have. But with that being said, an office assistant job is the phone part, and dealing with customers, especially when you are getting used to the job, can be a little stressful and can make you get flustered at times. But since it was a low to medium volume location, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But also, you might want to reconsider the idea of being a receptionist or office assistant for a high volume place where you're going to expect to answer many phone calls in a day, and you can expect to handle many customers, usually several at a time. Might want to pick a different choice of a job there. I'm gonna have to be real there. But it worked. I was there for a couple of years before I moved, so it didn't work out too bad. There's also a lot of computer work, which, that's actually a good idea for someone with autism to look for, is a job that deals more with computers, or anything that, doesn't put too much demand on the short-term memory. As people with Asperger's tend to be very visual thinkers, or they like to think more in terms of numbers, or, not stuff that necessarily caters to social skills, although some of us might have a little bit more than others do. I know I've heard of some people with Asperger's going for things like accounting, engineering, which I think they're very technical people who like to think visually and like to, think, mathematically, oftentimes some more abstract. That's a good career path. Doing something that deals with your art skills, and especially like Photoshop, anything that deals with more the graphic art side of things, as opposed to maybe the more traditional methods, would also work out pretty good. Although the competition is pretty fierce, with fairly few jobs for things like, sometimes graphic design or web developers. That's the one I was thinking of. Web development there's all kinds of schools flooding the market with applicants, and it's a little bit of a hot mess with that. But, try to find something that deals with art and computers. That can be a pretty happy marriage for someone who has autism as far as career choice goes. So pretty much, based on my personal experience, I definitely don't do fast food. Guys, please don't do fast food. Please, please, please. You're going to be so miserable, and it's just going to be a lot of stress. And I know it's one of the most popular first job choices out there, because that's just, it's easier to apply for some reason. But just try your darndest to find something else before you do fast food. I would even pick retail before I would pick fast food, because there's like warehouse jobs in retail. There's jobs that deal more with, cell phones maybe, or computers, or, something where you're dealing a little bit with customers, but you also are more expected to know what the heck you're talking about, as opposed to having a stellar personality. So, anyway, and then the good jobs, pretty much anything that deals more with the visual, whether it's actually thinking in terms of pictures or mathematically speaking. And actually, if you were to go for any medical jobs or anything that deals with like the life sciences, I would strongly recommend doing like something in the medical lab or even like radiology, because those are, you don't really deal too much with people as much, and you're not exactly expected to have the best of social skills, but you definitely are expected to have the technical capabilities. When it comes to having autism and Asperger's and you are very short in the social skills department, you really need to sell your skills. And actually, that's part of why some people with autism, especially if they don't have the gross motor skill problems that some may have, that's why some of them may even go into the trades. Become a welder, plumber, electrician. That's just, a couple ideas. I mean, there's always going to be jobs in the trades. Everyone's saying that we need more jobs in the trades, which is true if you really think about it. And now for job interviews, you definitely got to be prepared, because if you don't come prepared, I know how us people with autism are. If they ask us a question that throws us off, we're going to be stumped and we're going to look like deer in headlights. You don't want to do that. You want to come up with possible questions that they can ask, and you want to come up with a response for that. I know how we like to think in terms of contingencies. Like, if they ask A, we respond with this. If they ask B, we respond with this. If they say something like this, we need to say something like that. Definitely got to be prepared. I cannot stress that enough. Definitely be prepared. Please be prepared for a job interview, and so you don't look like a doe in headlights. And ask questions. Ask them what the everyday work life looks like. Ask them how they got started at that place and why they chose this company, and ask them what they like about the company the most. And actually, another thing too, you want to know the company you're applying for, because sometimes you might impress the manager simply by knowing something they didn't. You never know. It's a little bit of a gamble these days, but just preparation is key. Just put it shortly. You want to go into the job interview not feeling desperate for the job, like, oh my god, I need this job, please give me the job. You don't want to go in with that mentality, because then you're going to turn into a complete train wreck, I feel. But if you go in, you want the job, and you're so qualified for the job, you want to go in with a positive mindset that you want the job and you're qualified for it. You don't want to go in thinking, I need this job to pay bills, I need this job to advance my career. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go in thinking only in terms of serving yourself. You want to go in thinking, I'm the best for you guys because A, B, C, D, and my skill set is perfect for you. And since people with Asperger's are short in the social skills department, we really need to focus on our actual skill sets, which is why you will see a lot of people like Temple Grandin, and maybe some other experts that are knowledgeable with Asperger's suggest to get a job where you are specializing in something and you need to become specialized in your field of choice. Now, for me personally, I actually happen to work in a medical lab myself, which is a very friendly environment for people with Asperger's. you're working with the same people every day. You don't deal with customers, most likely, or patients, however you want to put it. You're not going to have too much of a demand on your short-term memory, although it might be asked for here and there. There's a lot of repetition, especially if you are in a department where, like mine, where I process the specimens, but I don't actually do the testing, although I do prepare specimens for testing. It's a pretty repetitive job, but, so assuming that, you work with a good enough crowd, then the job can actually be fairly low stress, which is what everybody wants. And I hate to say it like this, but, if you think you're socially awkward, you might find somebody that's worse off than you in a job like that. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Personally, I found a lot of people that go for a job like that are more sick of dealing with customers or patients, is what they said. Which, I'm kind of in that same boat, to be fair. Anyway, and then also when you go to job interviews, don't common sense stuff, dress nicely, get to the interview on time. If you need directions, please call them in advance. Give yourself plenty of time to get to the interview on time. Especially if you're going to like a hospital-related job or someplace where you're going in a parking deck. You definitely want to have a lot of time, because then you need to find a place for parking, and then, you got to find the actual place. You're probably going to ask maybe 3 or 4 people where to go, unless it's like right there. There's a lot of variables, especially where I am. Traffic's very unpredictable. There's a ton of construction, and that's going to cause people to possibly be late, so you don't want that. And I've heard of people going to job interviews wearing jeans and flip-flops, reading horror stories online. As crazy as that sounds, I didn't believe it when I read it, but I thought to myself, oh my god, this is not even like, I don't know better socially. This is just stupid. Why would you go to a job interview looking, like you're about to go to a rave or a club or something? Look your best, please. Just look your best and be on your best behavior when you go to a job interview, because first impressions definitely matter. And they definitely say a lot to the employer, or potential employer rather, about whether or not you're going to be a reliable, dependable employee that is a team player and is going to get the job done right. I like to say, do it nice or do it twice. Definitely want to do it nice. You don't want to do it twice. No. Anyway, now I do want to talk about whether or not you should reveal your diagnosis, or if you think you have autism. Now, my personal opinion, and in my personal experience, this really depends on the type of job you have. In my current job, I feel like it's kind of pointless to have revealed that I have it, because I don't see where my autism really would impact my job performance, except maybe, have an occasional weird encounter with a coworker, which everybody has, autism or not. But also, it just didn't seem very practical at the time to reveal, a disability that really, doesn't hinder my job. I mean, why, make someone think, oh, I need to accommodate so many special things when, it's actually pretty simple. Just write down what you want me to do or whatever. It's really all I need. But if you go for a job where you deal with people a little bit more, but not terribly, you might want to. But honestly, I say it's up to you. If you think it's going to help you out in any sense of the word, I would say yes. Tell them. Tell HR or whoever you want. I mean, HR is going to find out, but, HR might just, just tell them in a more matter-of-fact way that you might not be able to yourself. I personally never really revealed it, partially because of shame of it, which, looking back, I probably would have for one or two jobs. I think my first job knew something about it, because had a family member that worked there, but, didn't really seem to hurt my ability to do well in that job, and, no one really seemed to really care about that, so that worked out fine. But yeah, some people will say, don't say anything to the employer, don't say anything to your coworkers, because then it gives people more of a reason to think, oh, this person's a effing idiot. To put it bluntly, some people think that way, which I don't agree with. I mean, sometimes people with Asperger's, I think, can come off weird or strange because we just get social anxiety at times, or whatever, however you want to put it. But I would definitely say, really depends. If it's going to help, do it. But if you feel like it's going to hurt you, don't do it. I personally feel like, I wouldn't want to do it. Mostly because I just feel like it might hurt my chances of, a promotion. Or it might end up, if I have a strange encounter or somebody decides to be rude to me in any way, they're going to assume, oh, she has Asperger's. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She must have misinterpreted or whatever. That's a good contributing factor to the fact that I didn't reveal myself to my employer on a technical note. Now, by the way, if anyone I work with happens to see this video, or especially my managers, hello! Hopefully watching this video you would kind of understand why I'm a little bit weird sometimes, and hopefully you understand why I didn't, reveal this part of myself. I'm still the same person that have known for over 3 years now, at my current job anyway. But anywho, so yeah, overall I would say definitely market your skill set and your portfolio. You want to focus more on your work ethic, and your skills, like anybody else should, but you don't want to focus at all on the social aspect of your portfolio, because let's just face it, someone being on a spectrum, you're going to fall a little bit short. And honestly, everybody falls short one way or another. For people with autism, they mostly fall short in the social skills department, which, that's can always be learned if given a shot. Just please, guys, try to find a job that is very forgiving about short-term memory problems. That's really the biggest thing that's going to stop people from advancing in certain fields, is the short-term memory problems. And, of course, the social skills, which there's plenty of jobs out there for everybody, regardless of their strengths and weaknesses. Anyway, so thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope that my personal experiences helped you out one way or another. If you have subscribed already, thank you for that. You're awesome. But if you've not, hopefully you do. I would really appreciate more subscribers. I want to make more videos, and I want my channel to continue growing. And yeah, vote for Al. Have a good night. Bye.